Hey everyone, it's Austin Solomon, the Solomon Group at Coldwell Banker. Welcome to this week's episode of The Real. This week we have a special guest, Joe Ziolkowski, joining us on The Real. Joe, welcome.
Thank you, Austin. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, right on. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about Joe, kind of the story of how he joined the Solomon Group. Joe's got a very interesting story growing up. We grew up together, so I know him very well. Excited that, he's been on the team now since August of 2020.
Yeah.
No,
Yep.
yeah,
2020, yep.
2020. Okay, yeah. Time flies. All right, so anyhow, Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's start way back to the, 4 or 5 years old. You grew up in Rothschild, right?
Yeah, yep. Grew up in Rothschild. Austin and I went to Rothschild Elementary together. And, from there, just moved out into the country and went to DC Everest High School, graduated 2015. Really big into sports in high school. Wrestling was my main sport. I was a state champion wrestler in my junior year. Should have been a 2-time state champ, but kind of choked a little bit my senior year in the finals.
Let's unpack this here. Let's unpack this. So,
sure.
Junior year, tell us about your wrestling season. What was your record?
Yeah, I think I was like 49-3.
49-3. So 49 wins, 3 losses.
Yep.
Okay.
49 wins, 3 losses. Ended up winning in the state finals pretty handily. Actually, I'll get into this a little bit later, but to Eric Schmid was my opponent.
Yep.
And there's a funny story with that as well we'll get into. But, then my senior year, I was...
For everyone watching, Joe and Eric now have became good friends and do some real estate dealings together.
Yep, good friends and our real estate partners, investing partners.
Yeah.
So then my senior year, I was 44-0 going into the finals. And no one scored a point on me at that state tournament, but ended up losing 1-3 in the finals in a close match. But it's all good. I had a good time and actually ended up going to Madison once I graduated in wrestling for him for a semester. But so I had a good time wrestling and met a lot of good people.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
Yeah.
For our listeners too, I was watching Joe that night. I wasn't there in person, but I watched on the computer because they streamed it through the WIAA. Yep. And there was a point where we kind of knew like Joe wasn't going to win. And it was just so like, I just remember like I was so, not like I felt so bad for you,
right.
Because he obviously went undefeated. Like, he was the talk around really the state and a lot of aspects for wrestling. And then to see it like, not work out. Like I just felt so, but such is life,
Exactly.
Yeah. So, so obviously state wrestling champ, very hardworking guy, went to Madison, then came back. How long? You were there for a year and a half? Year.
At Madison?
6 months.
6. I was just there for my first semester. Yep.
Okay. Yep.
First semester there. Ended up just wrestling for them. And that was kind of my main reason of going there.
Yeah.
And then after I decided I didn't want to continue wrestling, moved back to Wausau, finished my 1 year and a half at Marathon County, ended up transferring then to UW Eau Claire to finish my bachelor's in finance.
Yep. So, and I was at the UWMC as well. This would have been the fall of 2015, which you were in Madison, and then the spring of 2016, you came back.
Yep.
Which was such a great time. Like
that's right when you got started in real estate, right?
That's when I got started in real estate.
Yep.
And also it was really cool because, we were all well connected. We had a couple good close friends that were from high school that were at the UWMC. And a lot of new things happening, well connected. That was just a great time of life. Agreed?
Yeah, it was a good time.
Good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Then now tell everyone about 2016. That's probably when you started getting interested in real estate, right?
Yeah, I think, back in my freshman year of college at Madison, so this is kind of where Eric comes back in. So him and I were rivals kind of in high school. We wrestled, 4 or 5 times against each other, and we were at different schools. But, absolutely kind of didn't like each other in high school, never said, like, good job or anything like that.
Right.
But we ended up being roommates then down in Madison because we were both on the wrestling team and we became great friends to this day, and we're still investing together, like we said. But yeah, we were just throwing ideas around, ways to make money, as young college students, and different business ideas and investing. And we kind of landed on real estate. So that's where I got interested, I guess, in the investing side. Then came back to Wausau. I saw Austin got his license, and that's kind of what I guess drove me to get my real estate license, because then I became a licensed real estate agent in spring of 2017 then, I believe it was.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's kind of how I got started. I was interested in the investing side, got my license. I worked for Coldwell a little bit then as well while I was going to school. And yeah, and then I did a flip then too in 2017.
Before we talk about the flip, I have to ask you this question. I don't think I've ever asked, so you got to shoot me straight here.
All right.
So in 2016, when you decided to get your real estate license, right? Because it was you and one of our other close friends got his real estate license at that time, right? This is after I had a pretty good first year and a half or so.
Yep.
Were you like, hey, if Austin's doing well, like, he's making good money, he's doing well, like, I want to do the same thing?
Yeah, I think there was a aspect of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure. I'm just, no, and that makes sense, So very good. Now let's talk about the flip. This is a great story. So I'm going to tell it from my perspective, and then you can kind of tell it from yours. Okay?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Joe tells me this is, I got to think about the timing. I think this was like winter of 2017.
Yeah.
This is before you got into real estate? Yes, this is before you got your license. Yep.
It was, well, I had my license, but I think it was before I was actually working at Coldwell.
Okay. Yeah. So Joe's like, hey, I'm looking for a flip property, right? And lo and behold, like over Christmas break, there's this property that comes on the market in Schofield on Depot Street. And I think it was listed for like 11.5.
Yep.
And Joe and I go and tour it like day it hits the market. No, it was listed for like 13. It was listed for like 13.
Yeah, somewhere around, it was low teens.
Yeah, it was listed for like 13. And so 13 grand, right? So Joe and I go there, and this property is very rough, but realistically, like a house for 13, like what a steal.
Yeah.
So anyway, I put an offer in for Joe, and then we got it accepted. I think we came in at like 11.5.
Yeah, we came in at about 11.5. We had an inspection in there as well, which is just kind of funny because
Hilarious.
it was a vacant home.
Yeah.
It's been vacant for like 5 years, and we
nothing worked. Like the utilities weren't on. Like you
electrical,
couldn't even
everything's-
inspect anything.
Yeah.
And it was in the middle of winter. The house was honestly like
It was
outside.
like colder in the house
oh my
than it
goodness.
was outside.
It was like -10 outside and like -20 in the home.
Yeah.
It was so cold.
It was, yep.
That's funny. But anyway, after the inspection, I remember like somehow we were able to renegotiate like $500,
Yep.
which is that's awesome. But so anyway, that closed for $11,000.
Yep. Yeah, close to 11,000. And yeah, I did a lot of the work myself. There was things we had to hire out, like electrical, plumbing, and all that. But I think we put around like 40,000 into it, and ended up selling for 68.
Yep.
Something like that. So I had a small profit at the end of it, and it was just a great learning experience overall.
Yep. Yeah. And in the meantime, you had gotten your real estate license in spring of 2017, right?
Yep. And then I believe I joined Coldwell in spring of 2018.
No, 2017.
Was it? Okay. Yeah.
Now, what you learned, though, that was also when you were working on your flip, right? And so, and I think you learned that when you get your real estate license, it is tough to get started.
Yeah.
Right?
Really tough.
Really hard to get started. And so I remember that you had because you had that flip going, you kind of spent more time probably on the flip in 2017, just kind of working on getting that than actually you did some real estate stuff too, but just not as much.
Yeah, it was difficult to stay focused on both. I mean, I was putting probably 60-hour weeks in on the property, and I still had schoolwork going on too.
Right.
So yeah, it was a little bit difficult to keep everything balanced.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us about what are some of the lessons you learned on that flip?
I think one of the biggest lessons I learned is get it's wise to get multiple contractor quotes and try and find a good contractor. And I know a lot of people say that, but it's very true. I mean, the contractor we went with, I mean, overall they did a decent job, but just some of the finish work wasn't the greatest. They kind of, I feel like, bid us a little high on certain things. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. Probably make sure you have good contract. Have people in place
Right.
to be successful.
Right. Good. Okay, so moving on. 2018, you go over to Eau Claire.
Yep.
What was your degree?
Business finance.
Business finance.
Yep.
Great. And then you also started with Eau Claire Realty at that time, or Bernizer.
Yeah. Well, I was with Bernizer.
That's Coldwell Banker. That's a Coldwell Banker
Yep.
brand. Yes.
Yep. Coldwell Banker in Eau Claire. I didn't stay with them for long. I was just with them. Like, I was in the beginning stages of like getting started and whatnot. Then I just decided I wanted to get settled in with school first. That first semester at Eau Claire, moving to a new place, and trying to get things settled in. So I didn't really do any work with Bernizer. Then after my first year, I then joined Eau Claire Realty, and then did that during the summer months when I had time off. And did a few deals there, but overall just mainly focused on school while I was there. Tried to get good grades and
Finish out. Yeah.
Yep.
When did you start? So now tell us the transition, because I know Joe now has multiple real estate properties, and is doing well in that department. Let's go there. When was your first, other than Depot, which we talked about, was the $11,000 flip?
Yep.
Sold it for 68, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that, by the way, on that first flip, you didn't make a whole lot, right?
Mm-mm.
But it was really more of a learning experience.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely a good learning experience. Just even learning how to fix certain things and manage the whole process, which was more beneficial than probably the little amount of money that I made.
Right. And Joe and I always comment that we wish that we would have I would have bought that house for 68.
Yeah.
Well, now knowing where the market's at, that would have
Right.
been just an amazing rental.
Well, I know there was that other one we looked at too at that time.
Oh.
On I can't even remember.
Talk about passed up opportunities. So, can I tell a
Yeah,
story?
yeah, absolutely.
So Joe, there was a foreclosure property in 2017, and Joe wrote an offer. For context, it was in a decent neighborhood. It was a 3-bed, 1 or 2 bath,
Yep.
with a 1 or 2 car garage.
I
One.
believe it was a 1-car garage.
Yeah, 1 car garage. Yeah, it was 1,120 square feet ranch.
Mhm.
They had it listed for like 55. Joe, I think you wrote an offer for 40. They came back at like 45, and you were just like,
Yeah.
no. Anyhow, that property would probably be worth like 140 right now if you put about probably 30, 40 into it.
Yeah, maybe 30, 40
you would
into
have
it.
probably doubled up. But anyway, there's countless stories like that. But that was one that I remember. Like, I encouraged you to buy
Yeah,
it, and you're
yeah.
just like, meh. But anyhow, okay. We're going back to Eau Claire Realty, right? So you did a couple deals there. Then tell us about the transition, second property, third property that you bought.
Yeah, so throughout my college, my partner Eric and I now, we talked basically multiple times a week, every day, just trying to learn as much as we could about real estate investing. And we would there's this podcast called Bigger Pockets, and we'd listen to all their podcasts, and you go on their website, meet different people, like talk and go on different forums, and just try to learn as much as we could. And it just seems like eventually, once we both graduated college at the same time, it was spring of 2019. We were just ready to hit the ground running. We just felt like, we've learned what we could learn. Now we just had to get started. So we both moved to Minneapolis at that time, and so we both had jobs. I worked for a couple of different places, but ended up at Speedway as a district manager. And there we knew we wanted to get started. We wanted to house hack, so buy a duplex, live in one unit, rent out the other. And we ended up doing that. We found a property in St. Paul. It wasn't in the best neighborhood, but we thought the neighborhood was getting better, like gentrifying, and a new soccer stadium came in. It was a expensive build out and everything. So we're like, all right, this neighborhood's gonna get good. And So we bought this duplex for, I think, like 180,000, and we put we wanted to fix it up a little bit, make it nicer. We probably put like 5 or 6 thousand into it, and had it for a couple of months. Rented it out, not to the best tenant. It was actually very difficult to find good tenants, and I think it was just because of the neighborhood. And we were like, all right, we just need to sell this one. It was kind of a good learning experience again. That was our first purchase together, but we ended up just selling it for break even. I think, after realtor fees and everything, sold for break even. So we were pretty happy. No harm, no foul on that one. Just a little bit of sweat equity. Then we ended up buying another one closer towards the Capitol, like within stone's throw away of the Capitol.
Nice.
On Capitol Heights, that one, another duplex. And I actually lived in the upper unit of that one and rented out the bottom. And I just want to share numbers on this because it's pretty crazy. So we bought that one at 192, and even then, that was October of 2019. And we were like, I don't know, even 30,000 above ask at that time.
Wow, okay.
And we just knew because the numbers worked out so well.
Yep.
So my PITI, so principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, were $1,285 on that property.
So that's all your expenses.
Yep, all my expenses.
Well, except for
besides, now we factor in vacancy,
Yeah.
CapEx, maintenance, things like that, and
principal, interest. Excuse me, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Homeowners. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Property taxes.
Yep, that's in there as well.
Principal, interest, taxes, insurance doesn't factor in maintenance, right?
Nope, doesn't factor in maintenance
Or utilities if you cover any.
or utilities. So it is separate gas and electric. So now we don't pay for gas and electric. We just pay for water and trash there.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So Capitol Heights. So you're living there.
So I'm living there. Like I said, my mortgage PITI was $1,285. The bottom unit was renting out for $1,300.
Yeah.
So that was completely covered. And then I had 2 roommates.
So hold up right there. So the bottom was renting out for $1,300.
Yeah.
And your payment was $1,285.
$1,285.
Now keep in mind for the listeners, part of that probably how much. Now you probably had what? A couple $100 of that is going towards your principal.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. A couple $100 going towards the principal.
Yep.
Property taxes, and homeowners insurance, and interest.
Great. How long did you live there?
I lived there for probably, 4 months or so until I made the move back to Wausau.
How was the neighborhood, Joe?
The neighborhood wasn't too bad, but so I had 2. It was a 3-bedroom, and
Yeah.
I had 2 roommates, and they were each paying me $600 a month as
Oh,
well.
so the story gets better.
Yes.
All right. Keep
So-
going then. Yeah.
So I had 2 roommates pay me another $1,200 total.
Nice.
So I was, living for free in this property I bought with an FHA loan. And not only that, I bought it with, St. Paul had a program for first-time home buyers, which is essentially a second mortgage on the property.
Okay.
And at that time, I just graduated college a couple months ago, so I didn't have a lot of money saved up.
Yep.
But I was like, I wanted to get into this property. So they actually supplied this program where I got $15,000 towards my down payment.
Wow.
So actually to the closing table, all I had to do was bring a check for $282
That's crazy.
to get into this property. And I knew it cash flowed really well. It was
Yeah.
a good property. It had newer roof, vinyl siding, updated furnaces. So a lot of the mechanicals were good. So even though I didn't have a lot of reserves at the time, I was confident. Anything that did go wrong, I could fix a lot of it myself from learning from that past flip.
Yep.
And everything. But yeah, ended up I was cash flowing like $1,000 a month.
That's
just
awesome.
living there. And
Tell us what cash flow means.
yeah, cash flow is just your expense or your total number, I guess, after all your expenses, right?
Nice. Yep.
So
So basically, 20, what is that? 20,
so it's 2,300
2,500 in,
2,500 in,
and then
and
1,500 out, basically.
about 1,500 out after utilities. Yep.
Nice. Cool. That's awesome. I was going to ask one other question, or just for our listeners too. So for context, an FHA loan is a government loan, right? Great for first-time home buyers because it only requires 3.5% down. So here on that was 192,000.
Yep.
So probably for simplicity, we'll say $7,000 roughly,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have your closing costs, which ended up probably being another 3 to 4%.
Yep.
So that's where Joe said basically, all in, if he didn't have that grant, he would have probably needed about $14,000 to buy that property as a down payment and closing costs.
Yep.
But with that grant, you only brought $200 to the closing table.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yep.
And then he was able to live there for free plus make money. So that's awesome. But that was your third property. So it kind of took two, learning experiences that weren't very profitable in order to get there.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on like investors that want to get started and they try to look for the perfect deal right away?
I mean, there's really no. I mean, you can get a perfect deal, but by the time you find one, if you just sit on the sidelines and wait for it, and people say this all the time, you're never going to get started, right?
Exactly.
You just need to jump in and if it's a good deal, it's your first one, and you're confident, you just got to go for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so then take us. So you moved back to Wausau.
Yep, moved back to Wausau.
That would have been what was that, like spring of 20? No,
that was
fall of 2019.
No, winter of 2020 actually.
Winter of 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like January I moved back.
Okay. Then you started working for Service Master.
Yep. I got a job at Service Master as a project manager for restoration type projects.
Yep.
And I was only there for, I don't know, 4 months. And I at that time, I kind of learned, I'm like, okay, this is my third job kind of in the corporate world. And I was like, this isn't for me.
Right.
And ended up just taking that couple months off. And then that's when I joined back the Solomon Group.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You need money in order to invest in real estate.
Yeah.
So you have to work, right?
That's true. Yep.
In that time, though, you picked up another property, right? Me and you worked together on a property up in Anago.
Yeah.
That's
So
a pretty good duplex purchase.
that was a really good one as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was had to have been, it was like spring, winter.
I think that was 22. That was pre-COVID.
Yeah, it was definitely pre-COVID.
Winter of 2020.
Winter of 2020.
Yeah.
So this is when Eric and I we formed an LLC together, and we actually brought on another partner. His name's Jared, and we brought him on because he supplied the down payment for that property on Delaclise in Anago, and so that's where we got the down payment for that. And even though it was, we bought that one for $52,000.
Yep.
And each unit rents out for about $550 a unit, which are, the cash flow numbers are pretty good on that. And yeah, so then we formed this LLC. Jared's on board now, and we were just ready to hit the ground running.
So here's what's funny is I just smile because Joe and I always joke around with Joe on this because so I've helped Joe. Joe's a licensed real estate agent, but through the years, there's been times where either you didn't have an active license in real estate or you weren't in the area and you needed help, right?
Right.
And so I would help you out in the Wausau area. So I think I've been a part of 3 of your purchases.
Yeah.
The Depot, Delaclise, and then one other multifamily.
Yep.
And Joe, how did I do on the negotiations?
We did pretty good. So yeah, on all 3 of those properties, we had inspections on each one, and I think in total we probably had $5,500 to $6,000 in credits that we got back after inspections. So yeah, Austin was a tough negotiator on those ones.
I just really love to, especially like, obviously as a real estate agent, we like to like be able to pull it off, right? And so I always kind of took it as a challenge with like, and I always wanted to obviously help our clients out. So I just love that. It's fun. It's fun when you can get that for your client and you're like, and it's not like it's not like it's unreasonable. Like there were some things that came back, right? And we were able to get like a decent credit for them. So it wasn't like we were, being super unreasonable, but yeah, very cool on that. Okay. Fast forward now, 2020, kind of corporate world wasn't for you, right? You're like, hey, let's do something a little bit different. I think I was kind of bugging you like, hey, or we're kind of mutually
we were
interested in
talking
working
at
together.
the time. Yep.
So then, you joined up with the Solomon Group, and we started working together August of 2020, and then you did another flip.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
I
a
did
good one.
another flip at that time. That was a really good one.
Yep.
And we got that property, or found it through direct mail, just sending out letters to homeowners, and came across our lap. That was in Chronowetter. Yeah, then that ended up being a pretty profitable
Yeah,
deal.
that was a good one. So real estate wise, probably done. Well, how many transactions have you done now
As a,
as an agent?
as an agent,
10, 15?
about 15. Yeah,
About 15? Good.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yep.
Lots in the pipeline too.
Yeah, we
How
got
many?
some.
How many you got pending?
I think I have 6 pending right now.
6 and
5
one.
or 6.
Couple in the hopper.
Yeah, a couple
That's-
in the hopper.
It's
Yep.
exciting. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, so it took a little bit to, get back into things as an agent
Yeah.
starting in August. I don't think I had my first deal until closed August till November probably.
Yep.
But then there was just a succession of like 6 or 7 right one after the other. And then had a little bit of dry spell in the winter, but now it's starting to come back pretty strong, and it's consistent now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, you're doing a great job, Joe. So we're excited to see your success and see
Yeah.
the growth. And it does take time too. Like I remember when I started in real estate in 2016, right? It took me, so I started in January, and it took me until like the first part of May to have my first deal closed, which, I was up in my office reading books about like how to get started in real estate, and a lot of real estate agents were like kind of looking at me funny, like, why is this guy reading books on like what to do and how to do it? He's like,
Right.
you should just be like out doing it. Well, it's a balance, right? You have to
Yeah.
kind of learn how to do it, but then at some point you just have to go and take action.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about, so on the investing front, now you guys have grown to like quite a few units that you own with your LLC. Right?
Yep. Yeah. So now we're up to, we're up to 26 units. And we have under contract another 24 units we're going to be closing on in July here.
That's awesome.
Ended up selling though a 4-unit property. That was the one that last one that Austin helped me buy.
Yep. How much money did you make on that, Joe?
That one made around 20,000
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, 20,000 on the sale,
on the sale,
not including what you.
not including the cash flow.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that one we bought that one July of
2020.
2020, and
Yep.
then sold it here about a month ago. And yeah, so after about 10 months, we made a $20,000 profit
great.
plus our cash flow. So that worked out pretty good.
Yep. And the reason that, for everyone listening, the reason he sold that is because it needed some capital improvements, some big ones. And at
Yep.
that point, you're like, oh, we could use those resources to buy other units and do better. Even though those numbers really screamed on that property.
Yeah, those numbers were really good too. So
Yeah.
our total income on that one, I think, was around 2,500, and yeah, our PITI again was around 900. So yeah, really good cash flowing property. But overall, yeah, just it needed a new roof, which was about like $25,000. We got quoted, and we're like, well, we can buy another property for that. So let's try and sell this one,
Yeah.
take some of that equity and that savings on the roof and other capex, and roll that into the next one.
Tell us about what motivates you, Joe. What are some of your goals?
Well, I think what motivates me, I mean, honestly, is eventually I want to capture my time freedom back.
Yeah.
And I don't care about being the next billionaire or anything like that.
Right.
What I care about is having my time and being able to spend that with friends and family, and doing the things that I want, like
Yep.
hunting, fishing, going up north.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I'm after,
That's
whether
awesome.
that takes 5, 10, 15 years, that's my goal.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a really good. Joe's got really good goals in that he wants to, like you said, you want to have freedom, right? Do
Yep.
what you want to do, and so you realize that, hey, it's going to take some work up front, and
Right.
it's not going to happen overnight.
No.
It's going to take some time up front, and because realistically, like if you want to be wealthy quickly, investing in real estate is probably not the best way.
No.
It takes so long.
It does take a while.
So me personally, I've been investing in real estate now for the last couple years, and I don't think I've made a dime yet. But Well, I haven't made a dime as far as, net, meaning like,
Right.
But I've made a lot of money in the form of equity, right? You
Yep.
buy at a good price. But yeah, if you want to be wealthy, real estate's not the way to go in the short term, but long term, it can be, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really great growth tool.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up this week's episode of The Real. We're going to do one more episode with Joe. If you're interested in learning some of the specifics that he's, some of the lessons that he's learned in investing, we're going to do a couple tips that Joe has learned personally from investing in real estate and how to get started. We're going to do a follow-up here so you can see that in the coming weeks. Check it out. See ya.
See ya.